So yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I put a story up on Instagram asking whether you guys thought it would be useful if I made a video talking about feelings, emotions, how to teach children about these topics. And when I put up that story, I was surprised by how many people reacted and said that this kind of video would be useful. So here we are. I'm making this video. Hopefully this can help you to teach your children how to have better socio-emotional skills. And I hope this video is really useful to you. So the first thing that I want you to realize is that children feel the same feelings that we do as adults, right? So children can feel happiness, excitement, joy, but they can also feel anger, sadness, jealousy, worry. The only difference is that children don't have the language skills or the coping mechanisms to deal with those emotions in the way that we can. So the next time that you see a child crying or screaming, throwing things, I hope that you can remember that it's not that this kid is a bad kid. It's not that he's spoiled. It's that he's just trying to express his emotion. He's trying to communicate his emotions to you. And this is still the only way that he knows how to do so. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is to start exposing your child to emotions in the first place, right? So how do we get them to understand what emotions are, what feelings are? One way that we can do this is by talking to them about it. So keep in mind that no age is too young for you to teach your child about emotions, okay? So let's just say you have a baby and he's crying because you took away his cookie because he already had another cookie. You may feel silly telling your child, "Yes, honey, I know you feel sad because I got your cookie," and you know that your kid can't understand you just yet. But it's okay, you can still do that because you're starting to already expose your child to that kind of vocabulary that later on he's going to learn what it means and he's going to learn how to use it himself. And then as they grow up, you can continue to help them to label their emotions whenever they're feeling something, whether it's a positive or a negative emotion. Okay? Next, I'm going to share some activities that you can do in the classroom setting, but you can also apply this if you're a mother and you want to do this in your house. One activity that you can do is mirror, mirror, what do I see? This is a way that you can start teaching your child how different emotions look like. You're going to choose different emotions. So let's just say you start off with 4 basic emotions. So happy, sad, angry, sleepy. And you're going to show your child how the emotion looks like on your face. And then you're going to ask the child to make that face while he or she is looking in a mirror. And then your child's going to say, "Mirror, mirror, what do I see? I see a happy Maria looking at me," or a sad Maria looking at me. Next, when reading stories, put emphasis on how the characters in the story are feeling. It doesn't have to be a story about emotions, okay? Just any story, and as the character goes through the different parts of the plot, you can ask your child, "Oh, how does he feel? Look at his face." Or you can say something like, "How do you think this situation would make him feel?" You can put emphasis on the facial expressions of the characters as well as on the different things that happen in the story that could bring the character to feel a certain way. Okay, next one. This is one that I do in my classroom often. It's the feelings song. It's a different take on the song if you're happy and you know it. So when we do the happy part of the song, we say clap your hands, and then maybe you can say, if you're sad and you know it, cry, cry hoo hoo. Or maybe if you're sleepy and you know it, go to sleep. I'm going to link a song where I got this from in the description box below. But I want you to feel free to add any other emotion that you want to teach and just make up an action that you think would go with that emotion. And then after you ask the kids to sing that song, you can ask them, "How do you feel today?" Another take is asking them, what is something that would make you happy? What's something that would make you sad, sleepy, etc. And then you always start, especially with little children, you start with simple emotions. And then as they get older, you can start introducing more complicated or more complex feelings. I'm going to put a list here of different emotions that you can teach your child. The thing is, as you expound their vocabulary, their emotion vocabulary, it's going to help them express themselves better. Alright, and another thing you can do, aside from asking your children at the beginning of the class how they are feeling, you can ask them again at the end of the class. What happened today? And how did those things make you feel? You can ask them individually, you can ask for volunteers, Or maybe you can give examples of things that happened in your class and then ask them, how did that make you feel? And then, aside from asking them how they feel or how they felt throughout the day, you can tell them how you felt. And that way, you can let your children see that you also feel those emotions, right? So you can show them that sometimes you feel sad, or sometimes you feel disappointed, or you feel worried. And I think this is a healthy way to show children that we all feel different emotions, and what matters is how we react to those emotions. Okay, now let's talk about some options that you can give your child when they're feeling sad, angry, when they're having a tantrum. Okay, because again, the thing is, a lot of times we get stuck on telling kids what they shouldn't be doing. So don't shout, don't throw things, don't hit your classmate. Okay, it's good to tell them what they're not allowed to do, but it's even more important to tell them what they should do instead, right? So for example, if your kid is running in the classroom, it's not about telling them don't run. It's about telling them, can you please walk? The thing is, if you just tell them what they shouldn't do, they don't know what they should be doing. So you need to give them choices, all right? So this is what we're going to talk about now. Okay, now these are things that you're going to do before they're actually having a tantrum, okay? Later on, I'll explain more what you can do if you're actually already caught in the middle of a tantrum. Okay, you can tell your child that sometimes when we feel sad, instead of throwing objects, we can tell mommy, tell teacher, so that maybe teacher, mommy can help you solve the problem. That's one option. Another option is you can ask for a hug. Or maybe sometimes it's not even worth it, you can just walk away. Another one is to help them to start expressing their feelings, expressing their boundaries. So you can teach them that, for example, if somebody hurts them, they're allowed to tell them, that hurt me, don't do that. Maybe you teach them that in those moments, they can just take a few deep breaths. You can also encourage them, kind of related to taking deep breaths, is to take some time alone. Now, these are all options that you're going to give your child as you're teaching emotions. You're going to teach your child these things when they're in a moment of calm, not in the middle of a tantrum. So what I do when I have a student who's throwing a tantrum, throwing a fit, first thing I do is I ask them, okay, do you want me to give you a hug, or do you want me to just leave you here for 5 minutes and then I'll just come back in a while? I'll come back, it's okay. A lot of times, kids actually prefer that. For me, I think this helps them because I'm not forcing them to be okay right then and there. You can cry, you can be sad, you can be angry, okay? But just stay there in your corner for a sec, and I'll be right back. And we can talk about it in a while. Compared to if I'm constantly trying to make them feel better, like, no, you don't cry, don't scream, don't hit, don't whatever, they're just going to scream more. They're probably going to start punching and kicking and biting. So that's one thing that I do, okay? The other thing that I do, for example, I had this student before. Every time she would come to class, she would start screaming and kicking and crying. And I remember telling this kid, you're allowed to cry, but you're not allowed to hit or bite or scream. I give her boundaries. You're allowed to feel sad. I understand you feel sad because mommy left, okay? And you're allowed to cry, but you're not allowed to hit me. You're not allowed to bite me or kick me. So I give them their moment, and I come back and I say, okay, are you ready now? Do you want to talk? And this is where the magic happens. So you ask the kid, what happened? Why were you crying? Why were you screaming? Were you sad? Did you get hurt? Were you angry? And again, you need to put emphasis that there's nothing wrong with the emotion. Okay? The emotion is neutral. It's what they're going to do with that emotion that matters. So you ask them, so maybe they'll say, yeah, I was sad because mommy left. Or I was angry because classmate dropped a toy. Okay, yeah, you were angry. Yeah, sometimes it can make us angry when our classmate gets her toys. It can make us sad. I feel sad too when my mommy leaves. And then you can ask them, but was it nice to hit your teacher? Was it nice to fight your classmate? No. How do you think that made your classmate feel? I think that also hurt him. Maybe next time you can come to teacher and tell me what he did. Or you're giving him the options again. Or maybe you can just walk away and just get another toy. So again, to recap, we asked them what happened. We asked them to put the emotion saying that it's neutral. What's the action that they're not allowed to do? and what are other actions that they can do. Now, what are some other things that we need to do as grown-ups or as adults in these situations? The way that we behave is very important in the socio-emotional development of our children, whether it's your son, your daughter, or your students. Okay, first thing that I think is super important is you need to model good socio-emotional skills yourself. So, if you keep on telling your child to use their words and to not scream and to not hit, but when you get angry, you throw objects all over your house, unfortunately, no matter how well you explain to your child what he shouldn't do, he's going to follow you. Because children learn predominantly from observation. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you look at how you yourself are processing your emotions, how you yourself are dealing with your emotions, because that's going to be what your child is going to mimic. Another thing, super important, make sure that your child feels loved and nurtured and cared for, even when they are dealing with negative emotions. You put emphasis that even after all of that, you still love them. Okay, you're still here for them. This is going to make them feel that they can express their emotions, just that they need to find healthier ways to do so. Another thing that is super important is that we avoid using dismissive phrases like, for example, big boys don't cry, or it's not that big of a deal, there's nothing to be scared of. Now, I'll admit, I'm guilty of this myself. And when we use it, it's not like we have bad intentions, but the thing is, when we say these things to children, it has a tendency to invalidate the way that they feel. So for example, you say, there's nothing to be scared of, but they're scared. They can't help it, they're scared. It's going to make them feel like they're weak and they're such scaredy cats because there's nothing to be scared of, but I'm still scared. So instead of using those kind of phrases, you validate the emotion. So you say, I know you're scared and it can be scary, but you know what, just stay beside me. Or sometimes you tell them, but you know what, sometimes we have to be brave. Even when something scares us, we still have to do it. To give you more ideas, I'm going to make an Instagram post about dismissive phrases and what we can say instead of those things. Okay, so I'll link my Instagram account and hopefully you can check that out. I think it will be helpful to you. Okay, and then lastly is to praise your child when he or she does express his or her emotions to you. Okay, this is going to help your child to do it more often because now your child feels safe, feels secure, and in turn, it's going to help your child have healthier relationships, better socio-emotional well-being, and he or she is just going to be able to lead a happier, healthier life in general. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was super useful to you. I gave you basically everything I knew, but I don't have all the answers. So if you have more tips, more ideas, please share them in the comments below so that I can also learn from you. If you learned something from this video, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! There isn't any age that is too young to teach a child about feelings. So even if that chill... Do I know how to talk about? Your child is crying, tell them. I missed the part where that's my problem.
I missed the part where that's my problem.